My name is Scott Ozorowski. I'm the Associate Director in the Study Abroad Office, and I help coordinate all of the first year abroad programs. So I'm the one that you will be in touch with as you're applying for the program and sort of preparing to do the program, kind of doing a lot of the behind the scenes organizing and planning. So Paul and Jess, why don't the two of you introduce yourselves, and then we'll have the students all do quick introductions.
Sure. Well, Paul Booth, I teach the class, and I've been teaching a version of this class since I think 2015, maybe 2014, I can't remember. And it just gets harder and harder because there's more and more stuff to include. But I love it, and this will be my fourth or fifth time taking a group of students to London and Cardiff. Jess?
My name is Jess Class. I'll be the staff professional for this trip in this class, and I work in DePaul's Center for Teaching and Learning as an instructional designer.
All right, and let's have the students all introduce themselves. Just say who you are and maybe what you're majoring in, and then maybe just a very quick, like, what made you interested in this program. And let's go Emma, then Caitlin, then Emily to start.
I'm Emma. I'm a film major, concentration in VFX. My whole family is British, so I kind of grew up with Doctor Who and all of that, and so I thought it was a really cool opportunity.
Caitlin, yeah.
Hi, I'm Caitlin. I'm studying psychology, and I mean, Doctor Who has been a part of my life for a very, very long time. So as soon as I saw like Calling All Whovians, I was like, I gotta try and get in.
Excellent. And like I said, feel free to turn on your camera. If you can't, that's okay. But if you can, it would be great to see you, especially in introduction. So let's do Emily, then Diego. Oh, I don't know if Emily is there.
Emily put in the chat
that
they are
gotcha.
undeclared
Yes,
and has been watching Doctor Who for years.
Awesome. Thank you, Emily. Perfect. Diego, then Sydney.
I'm Diego. My major is film and with a concentration in editing. And I was kind of interested in the class because I have an interest for both England and Wales. And also I want to expand my knowledge on Doctor Who and like television, like internationally.
Great. And go ahead, Sydney.
My name is Sydney. I'm also a film major with a concentration in editing. I was kind of drawn into this course because I also really like Doctor Who, but I thought it'd be really interesting to see how they adapt throughout time because it's been going on for so long.
All right, great. Well, thank you everyone for being here. All right, Paul, you should be able to screen share. So
all right. Well, Sydney, what you just mentioned is exactly what the class focuses on. And I do have the chat open. So if there are questions as we're going, feel free to kind of post them up. And I've got all of you on my view screen, although I already know what Scott and Jess look like. So this is the 50-year history of Doctor Who. And yes, that should be 60 years. It's harder to change a course title once it's in the system, but I will get to that at some point. But 50+ year history of Doctor Who. So we do actually go all the way back to the beginning. Our very first class, we watched the very first episode of Doctor Who called An Unearthly Child from 1963. And that is, and then we go all the way up to the present day, and we'll watch the most recent episode of Doctor Who, The Power of the Doctor. And we really do span the entire history of the show, which means there will be portions of Doctor Who that you hate, and there will be portions of Doctor Who that you love. And by the end of the class, you will be a Doctor Who expert. In however that means, so that you will be able to know everything about how Doctor Who came to be and how to analyze Doctor Who. But as with any Doctor Who fan, you will find things to love and you will find things to hate, because that's what Doctor Who fans do with a show that's been on the air for 60 years. So there are just some important dates to think about as we progress through the study abroad portion. The deadline for applications is February 1st. I know I've looked at the applications, and I know some of you have already done yours and some of you have started but haven't finished. So please do get those in by February 1st. After that, Jess and I will reach out to do interviews. We do want to interview everyone just to, it won't take long. It's like 10 or 15 minutes, but it's really just to get a sense of you that we can't get from your application. And this is just something that the Study Abroad Office encourages us to do. And it's something that I've found very valuable. And it's also a chance for you to kind of ask some questions about the class that aren't answered on the Study Abroad application. After that, you will get an email that says you've been accepted into the program, and then the Study Abroad Office will actually enroll you in the class. And that is because all of this kind of has to happen at the same time that course carts are open. And so we ask that you hold the time open, hold the time for the class open in your schedule. So this class is going to be offered on the loop on Tuesdays and Thursdays from 3 until 5 p.m. And the reason there's a little bit of an extended time there is because we are watching a 25-minute episode of Doctor Who in every class. So in order to fit the class time in and the screening time in, we kind of combined both of them. So we would ask that you hold that time in your schedule. The Study Abroad Office would enroll you in the class once you're accepted. The travel dates for the Study Abroad, and we'll talk a little bit about the Study Abroad in a second. We will be leaving Chicago on Monday, June 12th, probably in the afternoon. Early evening, probably early evening. Usually the flight's around 6 p.m. And it can change here and there, but usually it's about 6 p.m. So we have you get to the airport pretty early, kind of mid-afternoon, so that we can assemble everyone, get to our gate, and to take you through. And we will be in the UK for about a week and a half, a little bit longer than a week and a half. And then we arrive back in Chicago on the 23rd. It's a Friday. All things going well, it will be early afternoon that we get back. It is unlikely that you have this question, but I occasionally have had the question, what if I'm busy on one of those days? Well, then you can't go on the trip. You can't just like leave and then come back. So it is an all or nothing kind of trip. Also, and this question sometimes comes up because when you travel to London, you're so close to other cities. There are some free days. We'll talk about those free days. You can do whatever you want on the free days, but we ask that you don't leave the country. So although it is technically possible for people to take the to take the Channel to Paris, we ask that you don't do that, that you stay within the country, because Jess and I are kind of responsible for you. And if you're out of the country, we don't have access to you in the way that we would if you were, in London. So just putting that out there, don't plan on that. I occasionally get people asking that. So like I said, the class is going to do the whole history of Doctor Who, 60 years, because it's a focal point, and hopefully all of you know what a focal point class is, but a focal point class studies a topic through 3 different lenses in order to teach you kind of the way academics or the way college topics are studied. And so the 3 ways that we study Doctor Who are through media studies, cultural studies, and philosophy. And you can think of it like concentric circles. Media studies is you're analyzing the text. Cultural studies is you're analyzing the culture the text comes from. Philosophy is you're analyzing the questions that human beings want to ask and how Doctor Who answers those questions. After the class, which is held here on DePaul's campus, we will do our trip to the UK. There are 6 days in London, 4 days in Cardiff, and then there's a travel day on either end of that. So some of the things we do on the trip in London, we do a day trip to a fan event in Aldbourne. There's an episode that was filmed there. They do a kind of fan event there. So some of the stars from Doctor Who will be there. There'll be some talks. We'll get to explore the filming location. We do have some people that worked on Doctor Who coming in to talk to us. We're going to explore explore some filming locations, some tourist locations, and then you'll also will have a free day in London to kind of do what you want to do. Some of the not Doctor Who related things that we do, there's some meals, group meals will go on. We'll go see some plays. We're going to do some tours. So like we'll tour the Globe Theater. We'll see a play at the Globe Theater. All of these are kind of related to topics that we talk about in class. Then we're going to take the train to Cardiff. It's about a 2.5-hour train journey. Some of the things we do there are very similar. We're going to interview some of the cast and crew, or hear from some of the cast and crew, explore some filming sites and some fan tourist locations. One big thing we do is we take a day trip up to St. Fagan's Welsh Village, which is a historical site where some episodes, quite a few episodes of the modern Doctor Who have been filmed. So we'll get to go explore there. Something that it's one of those kind of historical recreation villages. So there's people working there in character, which is also fun. And they have a bakery, so everyone buys a loaf of bread. It's great. And then you'll have a free day in Cardiff to kind of explore that area as well. So some of the things we do or have done in the past, if you're a fan of Doctor Who, as I know some of you are, you may know Torchwood and you may know Ianto. So we go to Ianto's Shrine, which is now an actual historic place in Cardiff. We've done a Doctor Who escape room that's closed, I think, at this point, but there may be other things that open, so we may do that. We've gone to filming locations, we've gone to stores. The Doctor Who shop, you can see there in the bottom right-hand screen, has its own little museum that we go and visit. But we also do kind of historic and cultural things. We visit some castles. There at the bottom left is the Welsh village that we've talked about. We talked to some of the stars. So on the left, there's Katie Manning, played one of the Doctor's companions in the 70s. On the right is my class last time talking to Sophie Hopkins, who is an actress in Class, which we'll be watching. Like I said, we'll go to the Globe Theater. You will get to be one of the standing people watching the play from the audience. Yes, I always get people saying, do we have to stand? And the answer is yes, it's an experience. You have to go through it. I went through it when I was a student. Jess went through it when she was a student. I don't know if Jess went through that, but she should. No, you never did. But we'll take a tour of the Globe and have that experience as well. We also do other kind of fan-related activities. So we'll visit Abbey Road. We'll see some kind of historic sites like that's Parliament, and we'll see Big Ben, which has finally been restored. So they've got the scaffolding off of the tower, which is nice. And so lots of things. We keep you very busy. Oh, I will say there is a lot of walking on the trip. Partly that is a necessity. Things in London are it takes longer to travel by public transportation than it does to walk. Some of it is also because they just don't have a lot of the facilities to not walk. We have to be walking in some of these places. Most people don't have a problem with it. In fact, no one has ever had an actual major problem with it. But you will notice in all of these pictures that everyone seems to be wearing, you can't tell in those, but you can tell in these pretty decent shoes, good walking shoes. We'll probably do 5 to 6 miles a day of walking on some days. We'll do walking tours. So it is something to keep in mind that we do a lot of walking on this trip. So break in a pair of good sneakers now. So like I said, application deadline is February 1st.
And actually, I can go through this, Paul. So
Scott will handle all of this stuff. So
yeah. And actually, before I do that, though, can you talk a little bit about lodging?
Lodging, yeah. Good question. So I don't have a picture of it here, but in London, we are staying in dorms. They're probably like the dorms at DePaul. You'll share a room. There's some shared bathrooms, but they're in a park. It's really, really nice, and you get breakfast served. The exciting thing is in Cardiff, we actually have rented an Airbnb for the entire class. So it's like a 3-story mansion in the heart of downtown Cardiff. And it's so we'll have everyone, I think you have to share rooms, but it's set up for this kind of thing. And it's really cool looking old mansion with like beautiful like wood panels. It's like living in a kind of rich person's house from the Victorian era. And we'll have our own kitchen. So we'll be bringing in breakfast and we'll be cooking.
Yeah, great. Thanks, Paul. All right, you can go ahead to that application slide. So yeah, Paul talked about this a little bit already, but please make sure to get your application in by February 1st if you haven't already. If you haven't started it, you just go to the England and Wales program page. There's a little blue button that says apply now. Click on it and it'll start your application. The main thing that you need to do is your application questionnaire, which is a handful of questions that are just some short answer responses. It doesn't take you too long. And just make sure at the end to submit that. You'll hit the submit button. We also do ask for one recommendation. And so that should be either from a DePaul professor or a high school teacher or counselor. You've been here now in your second quarter, so hopefully there's someone, maybe your Discover or Explore professor or another professor who could do this for you. But if for some reason you don't have someone at DePaul that you feel like knows you very well, it could be a high school teacher or counselor. But they do not need to write you a recommendation letter. When you're doing your application, there's just a place where you go, you click, you put their email in, and it generates a quick little email link where they just go online to a very simple online recommendation where it just takes a minute or two for them to do. So, but you just need to make sure to put in that email address and submit that recommendation request so it gets out there. Please do that as soon as possible because sometimes it does take the faculty member a little time to respond. So don't wait until the last minute to do it. Do it early so they've got it, so there's lots of time for them to submit it. And then as Paul mentioned afterwards, he and Jess will be doing these brief interviews with everyone just to get to know you a little bit better. In terms of scholarships, and I'm going to talk about costs in a second as well, there is no separate application for scholarships. As long as you apply for the program by February 1st, you'll automatically be considered for our study abroad scholarship funding. We do have special scholarship funding for these first year abroad programs. The scholarship awards are based on two things. They're based on your financial need based on the FAFSA. So we work with the financial aid office to know about your financial need. And then they're based on your academics, which is basically your GPA from the fall. So basically somebody who has a very high financial need and a strong GPA is going to be most likely to get the most funding. If you do get a scholarship, the minimum scholarship is around $1,000. Maximum scholarship can go up to almost the full cost of the program. So we do have a pretty good amount of funding. Not everybody is able to get scholarship funding, but we do everything we can to help as many of the students as possible who need it and are deserving of it to be able to help subsidize the program. And what will happen is in sort of mid to late February, you will find out if you were accepted to the program. And then at that same time, within a day or so, you will then get a follow-up email that tells you if you got a scholarship and if so, how much it's for. And then at that point, you can decide what you want to do. And hopefully you will move forward. But if it's a situation where you're not able to move forward with the program, you just let us know that you're not able to. There's no commitment. You just apply, see if you get accepted, see what funding you get, and then it's up to you to decide if you'd like to move forward or not. Next slide. So yeah, the cost of the program. Program fee is a little bit over $3,000, so $3,250. It includes, though, almost everything of the program. It is your round trip airfare to the program site, your accommodations. It is most of your meals, all your breakfasts, 4 dinners and 2 lunches. So you will have a handful of meals you'll be responsible for on your own, but it does cover, about half of the meals probably. All your course activities and excursions you do, all the transportation. We enroll you in international travel health and accident insurance. So it really does include almost everything. The main expenses outside of that are just going to be paying for those additional meals that are on your own, and then just any personal activities or things you do on your free time. But other than that, the program fee does cover pretty much everything. And like I said, those minimum scholarships are around $1,000. So even if you do get the minimum scholarship, it knocks off almost a third of the cost of the program. And then in terms of tuition as well, sorry, I should mention, as long as you are in 18 credit hours or less in the spring quarter, you don't pay any extra tuition charges. These just act like regular classes like you would take. So if you have 18 credits or less, you pay the normal undergraduate tuition. Any quarter, if you go over 18 credits, you have to pay extra tuition for those credits that you do, for whatever those are for. So same goes here. So really what we say usually to people are, when spring registration opens up, maybe register for 3 classes for 12 credits, knowing that you'll kind of reserve those 6 credits for the first year abroad program to be your additional 6. That would put you at a total of 18, so you don't go over 18 credits. All right. Yes, questions for everybody about the program, about the class, about kind of the logistics of applying. This is your time to either speak up or throw something in the chat. We're happy to answer any questions you have.
Yeah.
I have 2 questions.
Yeah.
So the first one is, are we allowed to either show up to England early or like not travel home with everyone else and extend our stay?
Good question.
Yes.
Everybody does go on the group flights to England together to start the program, but there is the possibility to potentially stay late and extend your stay. So once you're accepted, in the acceptance email materials I'm going to send you, there's going to be information about our travel agents. And basically, when we contract these group flights with the airlines, there's a portion of the tickets that we're able to extend. And so it's kind of on a first come, first served basis to contact our travel agents. And she'll basically work with you to say, okay, hey, you want to stay an extra week? This is when you want to fly home. She'll work with the airline to figure out what the difference in price would be for that. And then she'll let you know, okay, it's going to be this much difference to change your return date. Do you want to move forward? And if so, you just coordinate that with her and you'll pay that additional difference for that change to them. But you do need to go with the group there so everybody arrives at the same time, but extending the stay is definitely possible.
Okay, cool. And then my second one was, if I need to sub out the focal point credit for an experiential learning credit, should I reach out about that now or wait until I get an acceptance decision?
Great point. And I'm the one who you'll talk to about that. And again, I'm going to have some information about that in the emails that you get when you're accepted, but I'll make a note, Emma, about that for you right now. Basically, most first year students need to take a focal point seminar, but there are a handful of majors where that is not a required class. And so if that is the case, instead of focal point seminar credit, we will give you credit for your experiential learning LSP requirement. And so I will be in touch with all of you. If you're one of those people that does fall into one of those majors who doesn't need it, or every once in a while we have a student who maybe was taking a focal point seminar in winter quarter and hadn't known about this and now would still like to do it, so we can again give the experiential learning credit instead of the focal point credit. But I'll be in touch, but I'll make a little note too about you, Emma. So
Okay, thanks.
Great questions, Emma.
other questions? There can't be no other questions. Well, maybe we did a good job of telling them everything they need to know. So
Maybe, or maybe they got scared by the fact that I said there was a lot of walking.
All right. Well, listen, if anyone does have a personal question that they want to ask, you can feel free to stick around.
Yep.
But yeah, thank you so much, everybody.
Thanks, everyone.
Again, please get your applications in if you haven't already. And we're really looking forward to getting your applications and moving forward from there. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everyone. Appreciate you coming.
Thank you guys.
Thank you.